Secretary Kahl, did I hear you say that Al Qaeda and ISIS-K are developing the capability to attack the U.S. within 2 years?
What I said was that the current intelligence community's assessment is that ISIS-K could potentially develop a capability within 6 to 12 months, and that Al-Qaeda could potentially develop that capability within 1 to 2 years. But it's precisely that threat that we need to remain vigilant against and disrupt.
How do we determine whether they have the intention or the will to attack once they have the capability to do so?
Well, I think we are actually fairly certain that they have the intention to do so. And I think the committee had the opportunity to hear from the intelligence community in a classified setting not too long ago, and we can follow up in the closed session. But we have considerable evidence that they have the intent. The question at the moment is the capability.
Well, you just said that they will have the capability within 2 years.
They could have the capability within 2 years. Yep.
So since they have the intent, and then they will develop the capability, and so I don't know whether it's in the closed session that you will tell us what we're doing to defend against the combination of both the capability and the will to attack. I have an ongoing concern shared by others on this committee about how the Taliban are treating women and girls in Afghanistan, given their brutal history. It's not likely that this will improve. This is for you, Secretary Kahl. What is your understanding of the conditions on the ground for women and girls in Afghanistan under Taliban rule following our withdrawal, and what is your assessment of our ability, along with the international community, to effectively provide and direct aid directly to these vulnerable groups under Taliban control? I have a series of questions, so I'll just put them to you. Are there any ongoing operations to assist prominent female Afghan leaders who are at risk from retribution from the Taliban? And back in May, I joined my colleagues, Senators Shaheen and Collins, in asking President Biden to appoint an ambassador at large for global women's issues to coordinate the protection of women and girls' rights in Afghanistan. I think that position is needed now more than ever. To your knowledge, has anyone been nominated to fill this spot? Could you respond to my series of questions?
I'm happy to. So as it relates to the situation on the ground in Afghanistan, I think we all have to be a little humble that the reports are largely anecdotal, not systematic. But the conditions are not good. The Taliban are a ruthless authoritarian band. They promised to put forward an inclusive government. They did not do that. Reports suggest that women and girls are having a hard time going to school. We have not seen evidence yet of widespread reprisals, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means we haven't seen that evidence yet. But there clearly are violence levels and human rights abuses to include against women and girls. I think that the international community has some leverage points with the new Taliban government. Taliban government wants recognition. They should not get that recognition unless they are a very different government than the one that they are now. They have profound economic needs. That provides some leverage, and we should continue to provide humanitarian assistance, not to the government, but around the government to at-risk populations. As it relates to the State Department's position on women and girls, I don't have any information on that, and I would ask that I would defer that to the State Department.
I know that the international community has come forward with literally billions of dollars in aid that's supposed to go directly to non-governmental entities, but my understanding is that they have to work with the Taliban in order to make sure that the aid gets to the people that they are providing the aid to. So how much of the aid that the international community, including the United States, is providing will actually get to these organizations and out of Taliban's hands? Do you have some sense of that?
So obviously that falls more in the writ of the USAID, and I would defer on specifics to them. But my understanding from my USAID colleagues is that, and from our US UN colleagues, is that NGOs and international organizations are able to operate around the Taliban government to provide aid directly, but it's harder.
We know that there are still a number of people who are seeking SIV status. So what agency is leading that effort to enable the documentation, et cetera, necessary for these applicants to get that status and then to leave Afghanistan?
So the State Department is in the lead for the SIV issue, but to the degree that they need assistance from the Department of Defense to verify employment, we've set up a project called Project Rabbit to streamline the data and make sure that we can make that process as efficient as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.